Another great success in the modding community. This time we have the Remington 870 Magnum Police by Wardaddy, Covadonga, and BrownCoatGarrus. Hopefully I got those names correct. So what we have right now is a standard pump action shotgun. Now there have been maybe one or two other mods like this, but none of them actually had the pumping animation. As you can see here, this one does. And paired up with that pumping animation is the fancy lever action reload. Technically not lever action, but that's the mod that the reload comes from. Much like the lever action reload, the less ammo you have, the longer it takes to reload, which is a nice little addition. It really just brings this mod together. For modifications, we have the standard fare. We have all the receivers that you normally have. We have two types of barrel, the long and the short, with I think one variation. Yeah, the mountain versus the standard. There you go. We have default sights and ring sights under the name improved sights. I will show you that in a moment. So this is what the ring sights look like. Don't know why you didn't just call it ring sights, but that's nothing important. No muzzle mods as of yet, so this is an empty category right now. And finally you see the legendary, that comes from the legendary modification mod. I'm adding that into my little review list just to show off, because some mods don't have the slot and thus cannot show up as legendary items. This one can. Finally, there are a couple of optional things inside the mod page, one of which being different types of reloads. I will show y'all that right now. This is the standard that I'm using right now. This is the alternate number 1. And finally we have the third version. Personally, I like the third version better just because it's more animated rather than the actual more simple and probably realistic first animation. But then again, I like my video gamey tropes and all that such. With all that said, let's talk about the downsides of this mod. Now there aren't that many, but keep in mind that the lever action reload is still a relatively recent mod. So it does have bugs, and this one is no exception. There were a couple of times when the reload failed, and what I'm showing you right now is another byproduct of what is essentially a new animation framework. You can see here it's not that pretty when it comes to third person shooting. With that said, it works, and that's better than earlier versions of this mod where the game literally T-posed when you tried to shoot from there. So it's functional, which means this weapon can be used in VATS, which again it couldn't in earlier versions, and it works. It just works. First person is perfectly fine though, so let's go kill this bear. Oh yeah, that's the other weird thing. I just remembered. Oh shit, run. Yeah, the firing feels a little bit off because the time between it cocking up the next shot and me actually being able to fire it, there's actually a bit of delay. You see I'm not clicking it immediately after I'm cocking it. That's because I can't. The game literally won't let me. So there's a little of a visual dissonance there. Being which, let me put this in VATS. And send off, I will show you all the VAT shot. Which looks a little bit weird because of the animation, but it works. It's functional. And now I shall die. Power armor has to be one of the most underutilized parts of Fallout 4. But this next mod is one of those things that'll go forward in a way of making power armor feel like a technological marvel. Power Armor Storage System by Kaelle does something that the mod page, I feel, translates it very difficult. It allows power armor to hold items that you had on you when you exit them. I'll quickly show you. When you enter the power armor for the first time, you will get a holotape. I already have mine, called Holotape Power Armor Storage System. this is where the configuration for all the features comes from. When you see internal storage configuration options, that's where you need to go to turn on some of the features. You can store the equipped weapon you had on, you can make it store heavy guns, melee weapons, and store the junk, you know, the scraps, the parts that you use to build other things, and finally, you can have it remove the fusion core on exit automatically. That way random NPCs can't just grab your power armor the second you walk out of it. Right now I have store equipped weapon, store junk, and take out the fusion core on exit. Show you right now what happens. You can see that it took the ammo that comes with it, and then scroll down. It also has the assault rifle I had on me and acid. I am currently unarmed, and I will go to equip a combat shotgun. Getting back into the armor, I will first, add back in the fusion core since that was taken out, and then jumping into the armor. Boom, I got my assault rifle. It even auto draws it just so you know that you had the item equipped. This is really cool. It makes me feel kind of sort of like Robocop, if you remember how he had the sidearm actually built into his leg. Effectively, you could kind of say the weapon is built into whatever empty slot in the power armor. It's a big power armor. It could fit weapons. Maybe not the heavy weapons like the minigun, but suspension of disbelief and all that. Now you may have noticed a momentary darkening of the screen. That is simply to hide the fact that the power armor actually has to switch models, I think, or momentarily disappears and reappears. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not that much. It doesn't mess up your vision too much. You can still see enemies around you and you can still fight despite that little blinking. Give or take when it comes to that particular aspect. Now in this particular place, I actually don't blame Bethesda for not including a mechanic like this. I didn't think of this mechanic. When I saw this mod, I was like, what could the purpose be of this? But this is a really cool concept. And it's just another example of how modders can do better than the actual game developers. And just FYI, if you have a mod that brings your power armor to you, it works just fine with it. This next mod, while not the cleanest mod I've ever taken a look at, still offers a very interesting piece of tech that I hope other mod authors kind of take notice of and maybe implement themselves. RATZ, Robco Advanced Targeting Zoom by JesterDoobie, adds in variable zoom basically. It says a lot in the mod page, but what it is essentially variable zoom. Upon loading the game the first time with the mod installed, you will get a little highlight saying that this mod has been installed, and it asks you to please select the FOV that you're currently using for your game. So I personally just stick with the default 85 because I'm a masochist apparently, but it makes things simple because you can just click default and go on with your way. If you ever have to change this or you made a mistake, you can find it in the chem station in the healing category. Why in the healing category? I have no idea. Why is it attached to a chem? I have no idea. This is what the screen's going to look like to ask you what your zoom level is going to be. Like I said, I chose default FOV, so that would be 80. And with that, the mod is installed. And ignoring the chem effect, when you aim down the sights, you will now see a prompt saying zoom, press E to activate. Upon pressing E for the first time, nothing happens, but that's because you are on zoom 1, the default zoom. Pressing it a second time will zoom the screen in just slightly. Now you can keep doing this 4 more times to up to a level 5 zoom. Granted, the level 1 zoom is your default, so like I said, only 4 other times. But each time you do it, it will start off at your default FOV and then zoom in from there. So it's not that visually pretty to see, but it does the job. And when you go all the way, you can clearly see you can zoom in far better than actually, I'm pretty sure most of the scopes inside of Fallout 4. and when you let go, you'll hear the Fallout 4 noise, and you'll be right back to your default FOV. Now, the best way, in my opinion, to experience this mod is with scopes. I'm currently using the M1 Garand that I covered in a previous video with the see-through scopes framework, and you can see right here, it looks pretty nice. Again, the weird starting at your default FOV and zooming in, it's pretty jarring, but I could see easily sniping with this. This is a pretty cool feature. Ultimately though, the best way to use this mod is with a hard scope, because it's a little bit easier to deal with the zoom in, even though zoom in just freaks out when you're in a scope. It does that, that's normal, and then it starts going crazy, and you start seeing flipped upside down objects, and it's just whoa. But that looks perfect for some extreme sniping. I don't know why I got that double sound effect. Okay, that only happened once. When you walk around, you'll briefly lose the zoom option, but simply crouching will bring it right back, and even uncrouching will keep it there, so keep that in mind. Finally, this mod does not work in third person, so I can cycle all the way through the different zoom values and it just doesn't do anything. If you kind of want to do third person play while still using this mod, it's best to use see-through scopes framework in order to get the instantaneous switch to first person whenever you ADS. Finally, though this mod does come with an optional to add in a quest for, I think his name is Barney, and getting the Reba 2. When you get the Reba 2, you should get a item that allows you to have this effect at the same time. I couldn't personally get it to work, though I read in the comments that other people were having problems with this and he was going to have an update out. So look forward to that, hopefully it'll work. If not, the mod is still serviceable in its just install and use form. Well, it took us a while to get to this point, but the mod that everyone thought would be damn near instantaneously to show up, took about a couple years. War Machine by Nevermind43 and captain-ultima adds the War Machine themed power armor into Fallout 4. Now, it's not particularly different from any other sort of power armor. I'm gonna put it on real quick so you can get a better view of it. So yeah, as far as visuals go, it looks really nice. Like, they took the Iron Man theme and kind of built it around the power armor instead of, you know, just trying to rebuild it, because you couldn't since the frame is so bulky. But it works here. Now, what I said earlier was that the power armor isn't really all that special, and stat-wise, it really isn't. It is essentially T60 power armor with a new model. Now, normally something like that I might consider cosplay armor, like I've said in other mod coverages, but no, because there is a interesting way to get this. Not super complex, but you can find it in a particular location. There's no crafting it, there's no finding it simply in a box in your sanctuary, but in its own fully decked out power armor inside of a frame locked away in a particular location. Like I said, as far as customization goes, it's pretty light on the features. You have the essential stuff for power armor, different models, material, coating and stuff. The only unique is the different paints based on the different types of Iron Man armor. You have Iron Man, Iron Patriot, and Iron Man Mark 1. But that's about it. The miscellaneous mods are all the standard fare. The headlamp, which actually makes the eyes light up, so that's pretty cool, but again, standard. And yes, it can get legendary mods if you have the legendary modification mod. The last two things that I would like to point out is that the minigun that is on your shoulder, A, it's not removable, so if you don't like that particular aesthetic, you're kind of stuck with it, and B, it does not do anything right now. That's another reason why I wish it was actually removable, because maybe down the line someone does come out with a power armor mod that allows you to simply have some sort of minigun on your shoulder. It wouldn't necessarily be compatible with this because the models would clash, but I may be overthinking that. The last note I'd like to make about the power armor is that sadly despite having the customization for the jetpack change the talk about repulsors and a lack of a jetpack model on the armor, still, we have the default flying. No unique Iron Man themed repulsor animations or visual effects, just default flying. But maybe that was a little bit too much to ask for at the moment. Still, the power armor is amazing. Just the fact that it immersively adds itself to a location makes it an instant grab for my playthrough, and I think it's pretty cool.